Welcome to the University of Washington Records Management Training, Cleared for Takeoff. Today, we'll be discussing the tasks you need to complete and topics you need to consider as you plan to leave your position at the University of Washington. Here's a list of the topics we'll be covering. We'll give a refresher on some records management basics, then help you determine your project scope and make a plan. We will address specific types of records, where you can find them, and how that might affect what you need to do. Finally, we'll outline how our office can help if you need more hands-on guidance. All the resources I mentioned during this training will be linked in the materials accompanying this training. In case you need a refresher, according to Washington State statute, all the records you create, use, or maintain while doing university business are considered public records and need to be managed as such. Here's the bottom line and the whole purpose of this training. Before you leave a position at the university, you need to ensure that substantive records within retention are clearly labeled and stored centrally or transferred to the appropriate person. Regardless of the device you're using or the format of the information, if you are doing university business, it is considered a university record. This includes email, documents, video and audio recordings, website and social media content, records on a shared drive, and paper records sitting on your desk. Make sure your records are properly organized before you take off, so that you don't leave your coworkers in a state of confusion. Make sure to stow your records prior to departure. This includes looking for work records on a home computer, in a personal email account, or checking whether you brought paper records home with you. Whatever the device or the format, you want to make sure that your coworkers will have access to records they need after you leave. It's likely that you have more records that don't need to be retained than you realize. You can delete all transitory records and any substantive records that are past retention. All records are identified based on their content or function, not their format. Transitory records include drafts, duplicates, requests for routine information, and information that has only a very temporary value. Data or files that have been uploaded to a central UW system like Workday, and conversely, any reports exported from these systems are all considered duplicates and do not need to be saved outside the system. You also don't need to retain any courtesy copies that were sent to you just for your review or reference. Substantive records provide a record of the function of your office. Substantive records may include formal approvals, proof of decisions, research records and data, or the spending or reimbursing of funds. If you determine that you have substantive records, refer to the University of Washington General Records Retention Schedule to find out how long your department needs to retain the records after you leave, or if the records are past retention already and you can safely delete them. You can search the general schedule on our website by keyword or browse by section. You can save series under your NetID with our bookmarks feature. If you can't find a records series, it could be something covered under your office's unique departmental records retention schedule. If you have any questions about identifying the right series to apply for any type of record, let us know and our office can help. Just reach out to us at recmgt@uw.edu at any time when questions come up. This simple diagram displays the retention process. After a record is created, it is considered active while you're still using it. A record reaches its cutoff or trigger, then becomes inactive but is still within retention. You need to retain the record for the amount of time indicated on the University of Washington Records Retention Schedule. You'll need to be able to produce them in the event of an audit, litigation, or public records request. Once retention ends, delete or purge your records. Records kept past their retention are referred to as rot, or redundant, obsolete, or transitory, and you should delete those right away when you encounter them. This flowchart displays the decision process for determining how to handle a given record. First, you need to ask, what is this record? Remember, based on its content, not format. Is it transitory or substantive? With transitory records, you can delete as soon as the administrative purpose is served. With substantive records, you must wait until the retention period has ended. Some records are even archival. These records have lasting historical value to the university and must be transferred to the university archives for permanent preservation. However, the majority of records should be deleted or shredded at the end of their retention period. Check if any records in your office are on destruction hold due to an audit, litigation, or public records request. Do not delete these records even if the retention period has ended. Your department needs to make sure these records will remain accessible and unaltered until that matter is resolved. When you set aside these records, make sure you clearly label which destruction holds are in effect. Remember, destruction holds apply to records regardless of format, so you may need to export any relevant emails, Zoom recordings, or other files to a safe, central location. You can reference detailed instructions on our website to help. Make sure you consider security and access when you are handing over substantive records to be retained after you leave. When you're deciding the best method to share records with colleagues, take into account who needs to work with the records and how confidential the information is. The University of Washington Privacy Office can advise you on which types of records should have limited access. Make sure it's easy to keep track of what is where. Err on the side of over-explaining. Use README files to convey where you have saved which files and how long they must be retained. Add the expected deletion date to folder names. Make sure your colleagues are aware of all the locations where you have stowed your information. Your goal is to make it as easy as possible for future colleagues so they don't have to open every single file to identify it. It's important to determine the scope of your records transfer and cleanup before you leave. Here are some tips we have learned from people who went through the process of sorting their records when they were planning to leave. Don't rush it. If you have time, it is better to break it up. It may take longer than you expect. Don't forget you'll still be doing your regular job. If you have a lot of records to sort through, break it up into manageable batches with a project plan. If you had another prior position at university and you still have substantive records within retention, transfer those records back to that department. We have directions for sharing emails posted on our website. Be honest with yourself. Consider how much time you really have and what you can realistically accomplish. Block off your calendar at the same time every week to work on identifying and saving or transferring your substantive records and deleting your obsolete files. If you have given your 2 weeks notice, then your top priority really needs to be ensuring that your substantive records within retention are clearly labeled and saved centrally or transferred to the appropriate person. If you have more time, you can safeguard your substantive records, plus clean up obsolete and transitory records, and write clear inventories of which records are saved where. Throughout your offboarding, be ruthless about deleting transitory email in order to make progress. Don't let new incoming emails derail your project. If you can delete something right after you read it, do it. Don't think about records solely in terms of your own workflows. You're leaving and someone else's workflow may be different. Think about the function of the record, the content, not the format. Is the record evidence of university business central to the operation and mission of your office or unit? Don't get distracted or caught up mulling over old projects and discussions. It's not about covering yourself or your own reference, it's about the legal retention of the record. Use the offboarding checklist on our website to prompt your memory and track which substantive records need to be maintained after your departure. Let's talk about email. Keep in mind this includes your complete email account, inbox, folders, and sent mail. Overall, the most important thing is to preserve and transfer the substantive emails still within retention. After you leave the university, your email account contents are deleted. along with any rot that you leave behind. However, if you are transferring within the university and moving to another university position, you still don't want to haul around your obsolete emails. Give yourself a fresh start by deleting as much rot as you can. If you have substantive email attachments that are still within retention, move them out of your email. Save them to a shared location like SharePoint or Network Shared Drive, where your supervisor and successor can access them. If you have small batches of emails that need to be retained, share or forward the emails as attachments to your supervisor or successor. If no successor has been designated, you may wish to forward to a shared departmental email address. If you have large batches of emails, organize them into folders, then share the folders with your supervisor or successor. Have that person copy the folders into their email or a departmental email account. You can also save a PST file in a central location for your coworkers. If you are the custodian of paper records, keep in mind that much of what has been printed can be disposed of immediately because these documents are most likely duplicates of electronic records. For paper records that must be maintained, never assume that your colleagues can find or identify them. Write a simple inventory to make it easier. What is where? Who is responsible for maintaining it? And when can they shred it? If you have larger batches of paper records, refer to the UW General Records Retention Schedule or your departmental schedule to determine retention. Discuss the inventory with your supervisor and give them that inventory along with keys to any locked storage locations before you leave. Store all paper records near each other so that they're easy to locate. Store similar records together, such as personnel folders. Label folders clearly with the date that they can be destroyed to take away the guesswork for future colleagues. Records that are past retention and do not have any continuing administrative value can safely be shredded or recycled. It's better to dispose of materials right after you've made your determination rather than leaving them as a future task for someone else, because it often becomes very difficult to identify documents after time has passed. Let's discuss electronic records. Many electronic records are duplicates and don't need to be retained. Consider first whether you are the owner or creator. And just like any other type of record, consider who will need continued access after your departure. If it's not obvious what is saved where, create README documents to explain folder structures and file naming conventions. Name files in a way that is as concise and meaningful as possible. Try to avoid acronyms or abbreviations unless they're commonly used in your office. The OneDrive and Google Drive accounts tied to your personal NetID will be deleted shortly after you leave the university. Make sure, again, that you save substantive records to SharePoint or Network Shared Drive. You don't need to worry as much about deleting rot out of your OneDrive and Google Drive accounts because those will be deleted, but do take care to delete the rot from SharePoint or Network Shared Drives because those persist past your separation. Those records could cause confusion and headaches to colleagues in the future who are less familiar with your workflow or specific projects. Review the local folders on your computer as well. We're talking about your desktop, downloads, documents, photos, videos, you name it. If there are substantive records in those locations still within retention, save them where other people will be able to access them, like SharePoint or Network Shared Drive. If you need more hands-on guidance, you can schedule a boutique one-on-one or group consultation with the Records Management Rot Squad by emailing us at rotsquad@uw.edu. Thank you for taking this training. Check out the related links on our website for more information. And please feel free to provide feedback on this training at recmgt@uw.edu.